At 20, I was hauling bricks at a construction site. The foreman slapped me across the face just because he dug up a jar of copper coins. I took a closer look, but he didn't know that I had been learning artifact appraisal since I was 3. The most valuable coin in that jar. I had already slipped it into my pocket. Jinkong Tongbao, worth at least 60,000. What's more, that day I accidentally opened the Yang family heirloom, a sandalwood box. A glowing pearl shot straight into my eyes, and from then on, I had X-ray vision. The day the beautiful CEO came knocking, I realized that these eyes brought not just wealth, but also a cutthroat antique underworld where people died without a trace. Under the blazing sun, I loaded the last cart of sand shirtless, then plopped down on the pile of sand at the construction site. I yanked the dirty towel I had dipped in cold water off my neck and wiped it across my face. At 20, my skin was sunburnt and peeling, my hands and shoulders covered in calluses. It had been 3 months since I returned to Shia City, working as a laborer on the site by day and collecting junk on the side, just trying to earn a little more money to treat my sister's illness. Boss, son, I think we dug up something. You better come check it out. I was thinking about my mother and sister when suddenly I heard a worker digging foundations not far away shouting at the top of his lungs. A middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes walked past me, cursing under his breath. He held a safety helmet in his left hand and a bulging briefcase in his right, with a shiny gold chain around his neck. It was the foreman, Sun Gang. Because he was bald, everyone called him Baldy Sun behind his back. On a whim, I followed him. I saw that in the freshly dug earth, a black earthenware jar the size of a basketball had been uncovered. It was already broken at the mouth, and quite a bit of its contents had spilled out. Copper coins. My eyes lit up. My father, Yang Jincheng, had originally been the most famous antique appraisal expert in Shia City. I had started learning about antiques from him when I was 3 years old, and at a single glance, I could tell those coins were valuable. Sun Gang's eyes gleamed with greed. As he crouched down to pick up the coins, he roared, "All of you, get the hell away. If any of you dares to breathe a word about what happened today, I'll break your goddamn legs." A group of migrant workers backed off in fear, but for some strange reason, I crouched down too. Smack! Sun Gang swung his hand and slapped me across the face. My left cheek stung with a burning pain. "Fuck! Yang Fenda, what are you doing?" He roared. I was stunned, staring at him blankly, my fists clenched tight. Still daring to glare at me? You tired of living or tired of this job? I wanted to knock this bastard out, snatch his bag and gold chain. But I couldn't. Not for myself, but for my mother and sister. Boss, son, you misunderstand. I was afraid you couldn't pick them all up by yourself, so I wanted to help. I explained in a low voice. What's in your hand? He glared fiercely at my fist. Slowly, under everyone's gaze, I opened my hands. There was nothing but sand. Only then did Sun Gang continue collecting the copper coins. Stop work for the afternoon. Everyone go back. Wait for my call before coming back to work. He picked up all the copper coins, turned around, and trotted off. I touched my cheek, still bearing the marks of his fingers. Ignoring the pain, I felt even more excited. I had been quick-eyed and quick-handed. I had already slipped that copper coin into my pocket. Like a madman, I pedaled furiously on that second-hand bicycle I bought for $20, racing toward Shia City Hospital. Half an hour later, I arrived at the hospital entrance and rushed to the nutrition restaurant, pulling out a crumpled bill to splurge on 2 portions of century egg and lean meat congee, one for my mother and one for my sister. Fendu, why are you back at this hour? Mother Yin looked at me, drenched in sweat, a bit surprised. The construction site isn't working this afternoon. The boss told us to go home early, I said as I placed the congee in front of her. Mom, you and Xiao Xiao eat it while it's hot. Bro, why did you buy such expensive congee? Xiao Xiao looked at the century egg and lean meat congee, her face full of confusion. Silly girl, we can't just eat plain congee every day. It's not good for your health, I said with a smile. Your brother can earn money. I can afford a nice meal once in a while. Ian was about to feed her daughter the congee when she suddenly caught sight of the finger marks on my face. Fendu, what happened to your face? It's nothing. I accidentally bumped it while working, I said casually, touching my face. A mother knows her son best. Yi Yun could tell at once that her son was lying, but she didn't dare press further, afraid that her daughter would also feel distressed. Xiao Xiao, always sensitive, still noticed. Her eyes reddened. It's all my fault for making you work on construction sites and collect scrap. Let's just stop treatment and go home. Silly girl, what are you saying? For you and Mom, I'd do anything. Life is bitter first, then sweet. Trust me, I'll make sure you both live well. I hurriedly comforted her. Xiao Xiao, your brother's right. Your illness will heal, and our lives will get better, Yi Yin chimed in. But my illness will drag you all down to death. Forget a kidney transplant, even if we find a donor, we can't afford the astronomical surgery fees. It's a bottomless pit. Tears streaked Xiao Xiao's face. Seeing this, Yi Yin couldn't help but cry. I looked at my mother and sister, feeling a pang of pain. Don't worry about these things. I'll have money soon, I said seriously. Yi Yin couldn't help but glance at me, clearly sensing I was different from usual today. After a moment, Xiao Xiao calmed down. Yi Yin said, Xiao Xiao, stay in the hospital for now. If anything comes up, ask Nurse Phone. Your brother and I are going home for a bit. After leaving the ward, I was still worried about my sister being alone in the hospital, so I said, Mom, why don't you go back and rest alone? I'll stay here with my sister. Unexpectedly, Yi Yun's face suddenly turned serious. Come home with me. I have something to ask you. Our family now rented a place in an urban village on the outskirts of Xia City. My mother insisted on choosing this place, first to save money and second for safety. The people here were busy making a living all day and would never pay attention to our family's past. After entering the house, Yi Yun bolted the door from inside and looked at me gravely. What exactly happened today? Who beat you up like this? Why did you say we'd have money soon? I hesitated for a moment, then finally told the truth. Today, a jar of copper coins was dug up at the construction site. I picked up one as well and wanted to sell it at the antique market to get money for my sister's treatment. Shut up. Yi Yun's emotions instantly got out of control. She snapped. Did you forget what I told you? Mom, I remember you said I must never enter the antique business in my lifetime. But have you considered that with me working as a laborer on construction sites and picking up scraps, when will I ever earn enough to pay for my sister's medical treatment? With a pained expression, I've been studying the books and notes Dad left behind for years, and I have the ability to make money. Yi Yun sighed helplessly. Do you think learning a bit of theoretical knowledge makes you an expert? It's not that the world of antiques is unfathomable, but that people's hearts are. I don't want you to follow in your father's footsteps. Mom, I know you're worried about me, but for my sister's illness, I have to take a gamble even if it's risky. I can't just stand by and watch her leave us. My face was resolute as I met your eyes. Yi Yun suddenly felt that her son had truly grown up. Amidst her worry, there was a touch of relief. Are you really sure? I'm sure. All right, then you must promise me a few conditions. First, you can enter the antique circle, but you must never reveal any part of your background. Second, get to know people before appraising treasures. Third, absolutely do not investigate your father's matters. Got it. I agree to the first two, but regarding father's matter, I must get to the bottom of it. Absolutely not. Yi Yun immediately refused. Mom, why? When father had the accident, I was still young, but I vaguely remember he was in charge of guarding a batch of cultural relics. That night, a fire broke out, the relics vanished, and father mysteriously disappeared. Some say he stole them himself. Shut up. Yi Yun's face changed abruptly, and she shouted, Remember this, your father was an upright and honorable man. He was my pride, and he is your pride too. Mom, I remember. My nose stung and tears fell. I'll give you 1 year. If within that year you truly mature and gain enough capability, I'll tell you everything I know and won't oppose you investigating your father's matter. After saying that, Yi Yun turned and walked to the bedside, pulling out a leather suitcase from under the bed. She unlocked the combination lock and took out a dark reddish-brown rosewood box. I had seen this box before. It was father's. After he disappeared, mother had kept it all along. Son, this is the ancestral treasure that the Yang family has defended with their lives for generations. Now it's yours. Whether you can grasp its mystery depends on your own fate. I held the box solemnly in my hands, and at that moment, I felt the weight on my shoulders grow heavier. Mom, rest assured, I will protect the Yang family's legacy with my life. Son, greed knows no bounds. Once you enter the antique trade, you must always remind yourself to stay low-key and know when to stop. Never show off too much. After speaking, Yi Yun turned and walked out the door. Jin Cheng, wherever you are, alive or dead, please bless our son. Yi Yun looked at the sky, murmuring to herself. I held the purple sandalwood box, which exuded an ancient aura, both excited and nervous. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. Holding my breath, I began to manipulate the lock mechanism. It was an ancient 9-grid puzzle. After fiddling for over 10 minutes without success, I accidentally cut my left index finger on a wood splinter. Ignoring the pain, I wiped off the blood and continued. Click! Half an hour later, a faint sound of the mechanism echoed, and the box finally opened. I carefully lifted the lid, and a green light burst forth from the box, instantly enveloping the dim room. I hurried to the door, bolted it, and drew the curtains before returning to the bedside. Staring at the green glowing bead, as big as a cat's eye, I swallowed hard. Was this the legendary night pearl? There was also a yellowed booklet in the box, on which 4 seal script characters read, "The Art of Controlling Eyes." I set down the night pearl and carefully turned to the first page. This bead is the Yang family's heirloom treasure, the cat's eye of control. Descendants with destiny may glimpse its secrets, but fortune and misfortune go hand in hand. Be cautious. If not destined, do not force it, or calamity will befall you. Remember this carefully. This is a clan motto left by the Yang ancestors. Father never mentioned this matter. It seems he too was not the fated one. I put down the booklet and picked up the bead, examining it for a long while. But I found no secret at all. I even rubbed it hard a few times. Still, I gained nothing. The earlier excitement was gradually replaced by disappointment. Could it be that I'm also not the fated one? I sighed and casually placed the bead on my right hand. Hissed the moment my right index finger touched the bead. A piercing, bone-chilling cold suddenly spread. I gasped sharply. I saw that the bloodstains from the wound I had cut earlier had all seeped into the bead. I stared intently at the night pearl. I vaguely saw a thread of red light appearing in the center of the bead. Before I could react, that red light shot toward my eyes like lightning. A sharp pain shot through my eyes. I screamed and collapsed heavily to the ground. I lost consciousness. Half an hour later, I slowly opened my eyes. I scrambled to my feet and shook my head vigorously. My head still felt heavy. Holding onto the edge of the bed, I struggled to stand up. Ignoring everything else, I hurriedly picked up the luminous pearl. The green glow of the pearl had dimmed considerably. Moreover, I could clearly see countless fine cracks within the pearl. How could this be? I quickly picked up the manual of the eye controlling art. An ancient aura hit me. The information recorded in the manual instantly flooded into my mind. Part of it was an introduction to the Yang family's background and history. Part of it was about the secret of the imperial cat's pupil. The rest were all the essential techniques of the eye controlling art. I suddenly realized that I had glimpsed the secret of the imperial cat's pupil. I was the destined person of this generation of the Yang family. According to the records, the Yang family had made a living by appraising treasures for generations. All thanks to the imperial pupil. It could see what ordinary people could not. I tried hard to suppress my excitement. I fished out that copper coin from my pocket and rubbed off the dirt on its surface. I fixed my gaze upon it. It was a Jinkong Tongbao coin, even with green rust on its surface. The characters were still very clear. Since I was a child, my father had taught me how to identify various antiques. Coins naturally included. A smile spread across my face. This Jinkong Tongbao was no ordinary valuable item. Of course, now I needed to test these eyes. Taking a deep breath, I focused all my attention on the coin. In less than a second, a miracle truly happened. Through the surface of the Jinkong Tongbao, I could clearly see the inside of the coin. There was not a trace of impurities. It was all white copper. Just as I was marveling, a sudden surge of sadness welled up in my heart. My eyes even reddened a bit. I quickly withdrew my gaze. Sniffing, I sensed a strong aura of slaughter and tragedy. During the Jinkong era, indeed, the people lived in misery, with grievances everywhere. I not only discerned the coin's authenticity, but also felt a heavy historical atmosphere from it. Now I could be completely certain. My eyes really can see things that others can't. Excited, I put away the copper coin. I checked the time. It was 5 minutes to 3, just in time to head to the antique street and sell it. That should cover my sister's medical expenses. I quickly tidied up a bit. At 3 sharp, I headed out. Riding my beat-up 8-hand bike, I sped toward the antique street. The village in the city wasn't too far from Ferry Bridge Antique Street. It took about 20 minutes to get there. The antique street was bustling with people. The middle of the street was packed tight. There were also plenty of street vendors set up on the ground. the vendor's boasts, and the buyer's haggling fill the air. Curious, I scanned the various antiques on the ground stalls. This was a perfect chance to test my eyes again. A Qing Dynasty Famille rose porcelain jar? Fake. A Ming blue and white lotus scroll maping? Craftwork. A Qing Dynasty Dragon Design General's jar? Junk. I checked 3 pieces in a row. With just one glance, I could see through them completely. Just as I was about to continue reading, I suddenly felt a bit dizzy. That's when I recalled the records in the Art of the Imperial Eye, which stated that using the Imperial Eye came with many restrictions. Having just acquired it, 3 items were the limit. I had to rest and recover first. Better sell the copper coins quickly. I pulled myself together and began scanning the shops on both sides. After checking out over a dozen stores, I stopped in front of a shop called Ji Quangu Collection of Coins Pavilion. A sign at the entrance read, buying and selling various ancient coins. I figured the shop must be professional, and there should be someone here who knows their worth. So I stepped inside. The shop wasn't big, with an inner and outer room. In the outer hall, 3 curio shelves were set up. The counter was to the left of the entrance. A man and a woman were discussing something there. I didn't want to disturb them, so I started browsing the shelves on my own. Hey, don't touch that. If you break it, you can't afford to pay up. Get out of here. This isn't a soup kitchen. I've got no money to give you. I was just about to pick up a copper coin. Suddenly, a disdainful voice sounded. The speaker was in his 40s, thin and gaunt, with a sharp face and pointy mouth. Probably the shop owner. He was looking me over with disgust. Only then did I realize I was still wearing my dirty work clothes covered in mud from the construction site. I wasn't angry, assuming he had misunderstood. Boss, you've got it wrong. I'm not a beggar. I'm here to sell something. Wrong my ass. Can't you see I'm attending to an important guest? I don't have time for you, get lost. The shop owner was outright rude. This was my first time in an antique shop, and I encountered this. I couldn't be bothered to explain or argue further. With good items in hand, what was there to fear about not selling them? Just as I turned to leave, I noticed the girl was looking at me. She looked to be in her 20s. Her shoulder-length hair was curled in big waves. Fair-skinned and tall. Her pretty face carried a hint of cold beauty. Independent and aloof, that was my first impression of her. Being humiliated in front of a beautiful woman. I could clearly feel my face burning, as if a fire was about to burst out of my chest. Seeing that I stood still without moving, Boss Wu Tian's anger flared up instantly. What are you still standing there for? Get out of here now, Boss Wu. This is not the way to treat a customer. Once someone enters your shop, they are your guest, whether they are buying or selling. You shouldn't have such an attitude, should you? That girl finally spoke up. Heh, Chairman Shang, just look at his outfit. How could he possibly have anything good on him? In our business, it's all about having a good eye. This guy obviously came here to scam money. Wu Tian smiled obsequiously at the beauty. A snob like you who looks down on others will go bankrupt sooner or later. Even if you want to buy now, I won't sell to you. I suppressed my anger and finished saying, then walked straight toward the door. You little brat, are you deliberately trying to cause trouble? Wu Tian flew into a rage upon hearing this, and was about to rush over and teach me a lesson, but was stopped by that beautiful woman. Mr. Wu, do you still want to do business or not? Besides, you were indeed judging by appearance. It was your fault in the first place. Wu Tian's eyes rolled. He quickly forced a smile. Chairman Shang, I'm sorry. You're right. Don't let this kid ruin our deal. Look, this bronze mirror is absolutely genuine. I went to Luo City and begged the owner for a whole month. Only then did he agree to let me sell it on consignment. As I reached the door, I happened to catch a glimpse of the bronze mirror in Wu Tian's hand. I couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. It was actually a sea beast grapevine mirror, but a few seconds later, I began to have doubts. Judging from the shape, pattern, and patina, it should be a Tang Dynasty bronze mirror, but I still felt something was off. To verify my guess, I used the Imperial Eye again. Fortunately, after the rest earlier, my body didn't show any abnormalities this time. When I finally got a clear look at the bronze mirror, a cold sneer flashed across my face. No wonder something fell off. So that's it, kid. I already let it slide and told you to get lost out of respect for Chairman Shang. And you're still mumbling about something? Wu Tian started yelling at me again. Do you know about bronze mirrors? The beauty looked at me curiously. I didn't want to meddle in the first place, but that Wu Tian is too much of a snob. Besides, the beauty had spoken up for me earlier. Since she asked, I'll consider it repaying her favor. Not much, but I know there's something wrong with the piece you're about to buy. I shook my head and said, damn it. What nonsense are you spouting? Wu Tian flew into a rage. That's enough, Boss Wu. Carry on like this, and the deal's off. The beauty's face turned even colder. Seeing the beauty get angry, Wu Tian's face changed faster than a flipping page. He quickly put on a smile and said, please calm down, Chairman Shang. Since you trust this kid, then let him explain what's wrong with my bronze mirror. The beauty's brows furrowed slightly. In truth, it wasn't that she believed what I said. She simply couldn't stand Wu Tian's insults. To put it bluntly, sympathy and pity were the main reasons. Then tell me, what makes this thing of yours authentic? Without waiting for the beauty to speak, I first asked Wu Tian, I think you're spouting nonsense without knowing a thing. A mocking sneer appeared on Wu Tian's face. Manager Wu, I'd actually like to hear as well. Why don't you give us a proper introduction? The beauty said to Wu Tian, sure thing, Chairman Shang. I'll give you a detailed introduction. Wu Tian shot me a glare, then began explaining with a fawning expression. This bronze mirror is a Tang Dynasty, sea beast, and grape mirror. First, observe the plump form of the crouching beast. Its structure is exceptionally clear. The eyes in particular are strikingly sharp. It immediately gives a sense of vigor and liveliness. The 8 sea beasts each have different forms. This is where the ancient craftsman's ingenuity truly shines. As he spoke, he tapped the bronze mirror lightly with his finger. Listen to this sound, low and mellow. It's clearly the kind of sound only an old bronze mirror makes. Now look at this patina. A single glance reveals its age and traces of time. Finally, smell it. It carries the rustic scent of ancient bronze. In other words, the fragrance of earth. This bronze mirror is quite rare on the market. I'm not overcharging you at 2 million. After saying this, Wu Tian looked rather pleased with himself. He didn't forget to shoot me a contemptuous glance. It actually sounded convincing. The price isn't bad either. The beautiful woman nodded in considerable agreement. Then her gaze fell on me. You said earlier that there's something wrong with this mirror. You can tell us now, can't you? Hearing this, Wu Tian was so angry his teeth itched. He really couldn't figure out what was wrong with this Shangmei today. Usually she wouldn't spare a man a second glance. But today she was putting so much weight on a beggar's words. I ignored the two of them. Nodding slightly, you're right. Identifying a bronze mirror mainly depends on 4 points. Listening to the sound, observing the shape, identifying the patina, and smelling the odor. The price is also absolutely low. Then why are you still wasting words? Wu Tian said disdainfully, the problem lies in 2 points. First, what you said is incomplete. Second, the price is too cheap. As soon as the words fell, both Wu Tian and Shang Mei's expressions changed. You should know that whether identifying patina or smelling the odor, both require the use of water. But you didn't mention it at all just now. So I can guarantee that your bronze mirror is afraid to touch water. Wu Tian's eyes immediately darted. His heart skipped a beat. He quickly shouted, what the hell do you know? This is an antique. How can it easily come into contact with water? Don't get so worked up. Let me talk about the second point. In this trade, you should know the price trends of bronze mirrors. Not to mention now, just talk about the several bronze mirrors auctioned by Guardian in Hong Kong in 2011. Several of them sold for over 6 million. In 2012, a wealthy domestic businessman spent tens of millions to bid on a sea creatures and grapevine mirror. Yet you're selling yours for just 2 million. Are you ignorant or just a hack? Shut your mouth. What nonsense are you spouting? Wu Tian never dreamed that someone who looked as ragged as a beggar could know so much about bronze mirrors and even be aware of market trends. He instantly flew into a rage. Shang Mei was no ordinary person either. She could tell at a glance that Wu Tian was starting to panic. She raised an eyebrow and said, Brother Wu, I think what he said makes sense. Why not follow his method for authentication? No, Director Shang, you don't understand bronze mirrors. They're more delicate and fragile than porcelain. You can't just casually get them wet. A faint cold sweat had already begun to form on Wu Tian's forehead. Just use hot water and you'll know right away. I felt a surge of smugness. Now, I was just watching the drama unfold, enjoying it all the more. After all, he had insulted me earlier. I had to teach him a lesson. Boss Wu, you know I have connections in this business. Do you want me to call someone who knows the ropes? To see if the bronze mirror can actually get wet. The moment Shang Mei spoke, Wu Tian's face changed drastically. He quickly waved his hand. No need to go through all that trouble. I'll prepare hot water right now. Watching Wu Tian look like he'd swallowed a fly, I felt a surge of satisfaction. As Wu Tian reluctantly headed toward the inner hall, he shot me a venomous glare. For now, he couldn't afford to get angry with me. He had to figure out how to explain this to Xiangmei later. After all, she was his biggest money bag. He couldn't let this sure thing slip away no matter what. Soon, Wu Tian brought a basin of hot water and placed it on the counter. He asked tentatively, Chairman Shang, do we really have to do this? Of course, Chairman Shang said. But let me make one thing clear first. Last time you told me you wanted to buy such a bronze mirror, I took it to heart. This time for you, I spent over a month in Luo City. Finally asked the seller to bring the item over. If there's really something wrong with it, it has nothing to do with me. Any sharp ear could tell at once that he was covering his own back. Xiangmei ignored him and signaled for him to begin. Wu Tian had no choice but to pick up the bronze mirror and carefully place it into the water. The three of us stared at the basin at the same time. After the bronze mirror was submerged in the water, a visible crack appeared right in the middle of it. A pungent, choking smell also emanated. It turned out the bronze mirror was glued together from two halves. Seeing this, a hint of a smile flickered across my face. I also breathed a sigh of relief. Taking advantage of their distraction, I directly left the shop. I'd vented my anger and repaid my debt of gratitude. There was no need to linger any longer. I still had to hurry and find a buyer for the bronze coins to pay for my sister's hospitalization. How could this happen? It's impossible. Wu Tian put on a shocked expression. The seller tricked me. Xiangmei's delicate brows were tightly furrowed, a trace of coldness hanging on her proud face. She stared coldly at Wu Tian. Mr. Wu, we're old friends after all. I never expected you to pull such a trick. Let's just pretend we don't know each other from now on. Wu Tian knew things were about to go wrong. He was about to take his anger out on me, only to find that I had already left. He had no choice but to beg and explain to Xiangmei. Chairman Shang, I really knew nothing about this. I was deceived by the owner of the goods too. Give me a little more time. I will definitely find you a bronze mirror even better than this one. But Xiangmei acted as if she hadn't heard him, turned around and walked straight out of Jichuan Pavilion. Damn it, that stinking beggar dared to mess up my plan. All my efforts were for nothing. A perfectly laid trap ruined by some dirty beggar. Furious, Wu Tian pulled out his phone and dialed. Hey, old two, get the brothers together now. Some clueless punk has ruined our scheme. I saw that it was already past 4 in the afternoon. I had to quickly exchange the copper coins for money. Otherwise, forget about this surgery. I was afraid even hospital admission would be a problem. Hey, wait a moment. Just as I was about to enter another shop, I suddenly heard someone calling me from behind. Turning around, I saw it was actually that beautiful woman from earlier. What do you want? Before she could even speak after catching up, I asked coldly, you left in such a hurry. I came to thank you. Originally, Xiangmei had only spoken up for me out of sympathy and pity. She didn't expect that I actually had some real skill. At this moment, the thought of getting to know me had sprouted in her heart. No need. I was just repaying the favor of you speaking up for me earlier. Now we're even. I don't have time to chat about anything else. After saying that, I turned to leave. Xiangmei looked astonished. She was the beautiful chairwoman of the Shang Corporation. Usually, it was men who fawned over her. She wouldn't even give him a glance. This guy is being so ungrateful, even if it's just to return a favor. Speaking like that is really rude. She couldn't take it and shouted at me, but I acted as if I didn't hear, without any intention of stopping. Xiangmei immediately felt embarrassed. This was the first time she had been ignored by a man. She naturally couldn't just let it go. Weren't you trying to sell something? Whatever it is, I'll buy it. Hearing this, I finally stopped and turned around. You really want to buy it? Money really talks. A smug smile curled at the corner of Xiangmei's mouth. She came up to me. Of course I'm serious. I'm selling this copper coin. How much will you give? I looked around and saw there were only a few people. I took out the copper coin and handed it to her. Jinkong Tong Bao. Xiangmei stared at the copper coin. Her brows furrowed slightly. To be honest, she knew nothing about copper coins. Even buying bronze mirrors was just because her father liked them. She knew very little about such things. But just from my quick glance, I could tell the bronze mirror was fake. She was convinced I had real skills. So today, even if she had to throw money at it, she was determined to get to know me, at least from now on when buying antiques. She could have me appraise them. 200,000. I'll take it, she said after some calculation. 200,000. I was stunned. I knew that under normal market conditions, this coin should be worth between 50 and 60,000. 200,000 was clearly nonsense. Why so low? Then 300,000. Seeing my expression, Xiang Mei thought she had offered too little. Are you pitying me? Or are you grateful to me? If it's pity, I don't need it. If it's gratitude, it's unnecessary. Because we're already even from earlier. I was annoyed. She finally realized the situation. A bit embarrassed. I just think you have a talent for appraising treasures. I want to be friends with you, that's all. To be honest, I don't know anything about this coin. Sorry, not interested in making friends. I tossed out that line and went to leave again. Seeing this, Xiang Mei immediately grew anxious. She stomped her foot and snapped. You stop right there. Is there something else? I turned back and asked. I may not know much about ancient coins, but I do know of a collector who loves to collect them. You're not lying to me? Why would I lie to you? He's an appraisal expert in the antiques trade, humble and with a good temperament. I promise he'll give you a fair price. I thought about it for a moment and finally nodded. Xiang Mei led me out of the antique street, and we came to a white BMW 740 parked by the roadside. Get in. Looking at this luxury car, I hesitated. My bike is over there. Why don't you lead the way, and I'll follow you? Xiang Mei, who is always so cold and aloof, actually cracked a smile at my words. Are you kidding? If you want to sell the ancient coin, get in the car now. I had no choice but to get into the car. Xiang Mei stepped on the gas. Yang Fendu, sitting in the passenger seat, instantly felt a strong push in the back. Sure enough, driving was way more comfortable than cycling. Xiang Mei drove very fast. After leaving the main road, they twisted and turned into an area of single-story houses. Though they were all single-story houses, each courtyard could at least be traded for a villa, because they were all Sihiyuan from ancient times. And the people living here were not just ordinarily rich. They arrived. Xiang Mei parked the car at the entrance of a Sihiyuan. Yang Fendu subconsciously checked the time. It was just 5 o'clock in the afternoon. As he got out of the car and Xiang Mei went to knock on the door, Yang Fendu idly looked over the gate. It was a typical Sihiyuan Rui gate. Its entire body was a reddish-brown color. Each of the 2 doors was inlaid with a lion-shaped door knocker. But Yang Fendu could tell a glance that the Rui gate was original, while the door knockers had been added later. Miss Xiang is here. Mr. Wang is talking with a guest in the yard. The one who opened the door was the Wang family's nanny. Seeing Xiang Mei, she said with a smile, Sorry to trouble you. I brought a friend along today. Xiang Mei gesteredu Yang Fendu, and the 2 of them entered the courtyard house together. This compound was a single-yard Sihiyuan, meaning it had only this one courtyard. There were no other side yards. The houses on all 4 sides stood independently, yet were arranged in a pleasing disorder. It gave a feeling of spaciousness and brightness. On one side of the yard, the owner had planted some flowers and grass. On the other side, there was a modest fish pond. With the gate closed, there was no disturbance from the mundane world. Instead, it had a natural beauty, Yang Fendu no Tichet, that in the small pavilion at the center of the yard. 2 people were talking. The one facing him looked to be in his 40s, with a ruddy complexion and a hint of kindness between his brows. He looked like a kind person at first glance. Such an aura cannot be faked. The person with his back to Yang Fendu appeared to be wearing a suit and was slightly balding. As for what he looked like, Yang couldn't see. Uncle Wang, I brought a friend to see you. Xiang Mei had already reached the pavilion and greeted Wang Jianan. Hey, little girl. I knew you wouldn't come to see your Uncle Wang unless you needed something. Are you asking me to take a look at something again? Wang Jianan chuckled lightly. Go ahead, but you'll have to wait a bit. I have a guest here who wants to sell me some copper coins. Let me take a look first to make yourselves at home. All right, we'll wait for you then. But don't take too long, or you'll regret it. As Xiang Mei spoke, a bright smile appeared on her face. Wang Jianan smiled and shook his head. Then his gaze fell back on the man across from him. Sun Gang, the copper coins you brought me this time are indeed old, but they're a dime a dozen on the market, so they don't have much value. How about this? I'll give you 3,000 yuan for the whole lot. What do you think? Sun Gang Yang Fendu, who had been standing outside the pavilion, heard this name. His eyelids couldn't help but twitch a few times. He thought to himself, could it be that unscrupulous contractor? At that moment, the idea of quickly getting out of there had already crossed his mind. If he were seen by this guy holding the copper coins in his hand, Sun Gang definitely wouldn't let him off easily. Elder Wang, As you said yourself, these copper coins are all genuine old pieces, and their origins are legitimate. Could you make the price a bit higher? That voice no doubt at Sun Gang. This time, Yang Fendu felt a bit panicked. It seemed all the copper coins in his hand were exactly the ones unearthed from the construction site. How about this? Don't rush to sell them just yet. Go out and ask around. The price I'm offering you is absolutely fair. But Wang Jianan shook his head, saying, I have something urgent to attend to. This copper coin is not for sale today. I'm leaving now. After thinking it over, Yang Fendu ultimately decided to leave the place. He whispered to Xiangmei, but Xiangmei had no idea what Yang Fendu was thinking. She furrowed her brows and asked in surprise, What are you doing? Why are you in such a hurry? Let me tell you, Uncle Wang is an expert in appraising ancient coins. As long as your item is good, the price won't be a problem. Xiangmei's voice was a bit loud. Wang Jianan couldn't help but glance at Yang Fendu. At the same time, Sun Gang, who had his back to them, turned around. Fear of what might come. For a moment, Yang Fendu and Sun Gang locked eyes. Both were somewhat stunned. A few seconds later, a hint of anger appeared on Sun Gang's face. He said coldly to Yang Fendu, So it's you, kid. You're here to sell copper coins too? Yang Fendu didn't answer directly. His eyes flickered a bit. Xiangmei, who was beside him, witnessed this scene, as if understanding something. Xiangmei hesitated for a moment, then said to Sun Gang, What's the matter? Only you are allowed to sell copper coins? Not allowed for others to sell? You're too domineering. That's right, Sun Gang. You're not being magnanimous at all. At this point, Wang Jianan was also somewhat angry. Sir, you don't know. The copper coins in this kid's hand are actually mine. As soon as these words came out, Wang Jianan and Xiangmei's expressions changed immediately. Their eyes fell on Yang Fendu at the same time, especially Xiangmei, who looked utterly incredulous. She asked tentatively, Did you steal the copper coins? No, Yang Fendu flatly denied. My copper coins are my own. Humph, you're talking nonsense. Take out the copper coins and return them to me. Just give them back, and I'll let you off. If you try to keep them for yourself, don't blame me for being rude. Sun Gang shouted angrily. This time, Wang Jianan and Xiangmei were at a loss for what to do. Sun Gang, you don't have to be polite. Since you say this coin is yours, then I'll call the police right now. After the initial tension, Yang Fendu actually felt more at ease now. At worst, no one would have it easy. Sun Gang hadn't expected that Yang Fendu, who had always been submissive, would now speak with such confidence, and even dare to talk back to him. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He took a few steps forward and was about to slap Yang Fendu. Stop it, Sun Gang. This is my home. You can't act recklessly here. Seeing this, Wang Jianan suddenly let out a cold shout. Sun Gang didn't dare to provoke Wang Jianan. After all, he still wanted to sell things to him in the future. He quickly forced a smile and said, Old Wang, please don't be angry. This guy is just a temporary worker on my construction site. If he has the copper coin, it must be mine. Sun Gang, from now on, I won't work at your construction site anymore. I worked for 30 days straight. 100 yuan a day. That's exactly 3,000 for a month. Since I ran into you today, give me my wages. Yang Fendu's mind turned quickly, and he suddenly changed the subject. You still want money from me? Believe me or not, I'll break your legs. Sun Gang was completely stunned. He didn't expect this guy still dare to ask him for wages. Withholding migrant workers' wages is illegal. Judging by your clothes, you must be some kind of boss. Surely you wouldn't risk it for just 3,000 yuan? Xiangmei, who was nearby, glanced at Yang Fendu and felt she should trust him at this moment. So she spoke up for him. Wang Jianan couldn't help but chime in. That's right, Sun Gang. If you do this, how will we do business in the future? He had been observing Yang Fendu just now and felt a hint of familiarity, but he couldn't remember where he had seen him. Most importantly, he felt that Yang Fendu was probably not a thief. For a moment, Sun Gang was dumbfounded. Not only had he failed to get the copper coins back, but now he might have to lose another 3,000 yuan. Sun Gang couldn't afford to offend Wang Jianan. In the end, he reluctantly pulled 3,000 yuan in cash from his briefcase and handed it to Yang Fendu with a sour look. Young man, since you're here to sell copper coins too, let's see what you've got. After Wang Jianan saw Yang Fendu pocket the money, he said with a smile. Actually, Yang Fendu was still a bit hesitant inside. No matter what, he didn't want to show the copper coins in front of Sun Gang. And he knew Sun Gang's character well. this matter definitely wouldn't end so easily. Old Wang, I've changed my mind about selling the copper coins. Sorry to have bothered you today. If I ever want to sell them in the future, I'll come back to you. After saying this, Yang Fendu turned to leave. Old Wang, I also have some urgent business. About to leave first, seeing Yang Fendu about to go. A sly smile flickered across Sun Gang's face. He quickly said a word to Wang Jianan. Seeing this, Wang Jianan frowned. Then he called out to Yang Fendu. Young man, since you were brought by Xiang Mei, then we're friends too. It doesn't matter if you sell the copper coins or not. Sit down and have a cup of tea and chat. Wang Jianan was very smart. He knew what Yang Fendu was worried about. He also knew what Sun Gang was thinking at that moment. Yang Fendu paused in his steps. He naturally understood the meaning behind Wang Jianan's words. He turned around and said gratefully to the other person, all right, then I'll gladly comply. Seeing that Yang Fendu was not leaving, Sun Gang was a bit dumbfounded. After hesitating, he had to turn around and brazenly say to Wang Jianan, Mr. Wang, how about we talk about my copper coins again? No need, it's fine as is. Didn't you say you had something urgent to attend to? Go ahead and take care of it. If you have any good stuff in the future, feel free to come to me anytime. As you can see, I have a guest to entertain now, so I won't keep you. Wang Jianan looked at Sun Gang, feigning a troubled expression. Faced with the dismissal, Sun Gang had no choice but to suppress his anger and say, with a flattering smile, fine, then I'll take my leave. As he passed by Yang Fendu, a cold and sinister look appeared on Sun Gang's face. He said in a low voice, Kid, you just wait. This isn't over. Yang Fendu simply chose to ignore him. Auntie, close the door. From now on, I'm not seeing any more guests. After Sun Gang left, Wang Jianan directly called out to the maid. Come, young man, have a seat. Wang Jianan withdrew his gaze and gestured to Yang Fendu. After the three of them sat down, Wang Jianan personally poured a cup of tea for Yang Fendu. Now there are no outsiders here. Don't be too reserved. Take out the copper coins. Wang Jianan said with a faint smile. Thank you, Elder Wang, for helping me out just now. Yang Fendu didn't pick up the thread. Instead, he expressed his gratitude to the other. Haha, Wang Jianan waved his hand and said with a smile, no need to thank me. First, I know Sun Gang's character. Second, I think you're a fine young man. Not the thief he claims you are. Third, I like to get to know a young person like you. Yeah, even though Uncle Wang is getting on in years, he's still an old kid at heart. Xiang Mei also said with a smile. What are you saying, girl? I'm not even 50 yet. How can you say I'm getting on in years? Xiang Mei, who was usually proud, was unusually lively in front of Wang Jianan. Of course, Yang Fendu had his own plans in mind. As a newcomer to the antique business, one must be cautious at every turn. But right now, he was anxious to sell the copper coins. After weighing the pros and cons, he finally took out the copper coin, Jinkong Tongbao. When Wang Jianan took the coin and looked at it, a look of shock immediately appeared on his face. He quickly picked up a magnifying glass and examined it closely. What a treasure! I never thought I'd actually see a Jinkong Tongbao. A minute later, Wang Jianan could barely contain his excitement. Seeing his expression, Xiang Mei said happily, Uncle Wang, I was right, wasn't I? I did something today that made you happy, didn't I? Girl, I'll credit you for this. For so many years, he had been collecting copper coins, but he was always missing a Jinkong Tongbao. After all, those coins were minted in very limited quantities, and now they are extremely hard to find on the market. It had almost become an obsession for him. He never expected to finally see one today. Fendu, how much do you want for this coin? Wang Jianan was a straightforward man and didn't ask about anything else. Asking the price outright, Yang Fendu didn't expect Wang Jianan to react this way. If he followed the unspoken rules of the antique trade, when a buyer shows their emotions, the seller can basically name their own price. But he was new to the antique business, and for now, he just wanted to establish a foothold, leave a good impression, since there would surely be more dealings in the future. So he absolutely couldn't demand an exorbitant price. Old Wang, I don't really understand the market value of these copper coins either. How about you set a price? If it's fair, I'll sell them. Hearing this, the now calm Wang Jianan immediately revealed a hint of a mysterious smile. Unbeknownst to him, his earlier excitement and shock were deliberately shown. Having spent so many years in the antique trade, he had seen all kinds of treasures and rarities, and long mastered the art of hiding his feelings. He did that to test Yang Fenda's character. Would they ask for an outrageous price? Now it seems this kid is really decent. Girl, you really have good eyes. You didn't judge by appearances. This young man, Fendu, is definitely worth befriending. Wang Jianan didn't mention the price. Instead, he smiled and said to Xiangmei. Hearing this, Xiangmei felt a burst of joy inside, but dare not show it on her face. Actually, I just got to know Yang Fendu. He just helped me appraise a bronze mirror. If it weren't for him spotting the problem, I would have been terribly cheated by Wu Tian of Ji Quan Pavilion. Is that so? Wang Jianan's gaze fell on Yang Fendu. He smiled and said, Fendu, you have good eyes. It was just a fluke. Yang Fendu smiled sheepishly. Let's set that aside. Now about this Jinkong Tongbao coin. The current market price is around 30,000 yuan. I'll give you 50,000. What do you think? This price was somewhat unexpected for Yang Fendu. Originally, he thought 30,000 would be enough. He didn't expect Wang Jianan to not shortchange him. All right, then thanks to old Wang. Yang Fendu nodded and said, strangers the first time, friends the second. From now on, we're friends. Fendu, don't call me old Wang. Just call me Uncle Wang, or old Wang is fine. Hearing Wang Jianan's words, Yang Fendu was somewhat taken aback. After a moment's thought, he had no choice but to call him Uncle Wang. After all, calling him old Wang outright would be somewhat disrespectful. You two have tea first. I'll go get the money for you. After saying that, Wang Jianan got up and walked toward the main house. See, I didn't lie to you, did I? Uncle Wang is very kind and easygoing, and he's absolutely fair in his dealings. He won't cheat you. Seeing that the deal was made, Xiangmei couldn't help smiling and said to Yang Fendu. Yang Fendu didn't speak, but in his heart, he agreed with what she said. Before long, Wang Jianan came out holding a leather bag. Count it, this is 50,000 yuan. Yang Fendu didn't count the money. He glanced at it and set it aside. All right, now the deal is done. You don't need to hold back anymore. Now you can tell me the origin of this copper coin and its connection to Sun Gang. Wang Jianan poured another cup of tea for Yang Fendu. Looking at Yang Fendu with a smile, Yang Fendu didn't expect Wang Jianan to be so curious. Since the transaction was complete, why was he still asking about these things? Seeing Yang Fendu's expression change, Wang Jianan guessed what he was thinking. He quickly smiled and explained, Fendu, don't overthink this. Let me put it this way. I think you're a good young man. And with the connection to Xiangmei, I'd like to be friends with you. All right, I also think Uncle Wang is a good person. Since you've asked, then let me tell you. Yang Fendu nodded and then recounted the whole story of how he obtained this copper coin to Wang Jianan. Of course, regarding matters that shouldn't be mentioned, Yang Fendu naturally wouldn't say a single word about them. At this moment, Wang Jianan's expression also grew somewhat serious. He fiddled with the teacup in his hand for a while. Then after a long silence, he spoke. Fendu, I can see that you're new to the antique business. There are many rules and things you don't understand. I'll tell you just one thing. If you remain unknown in this trade, that's fine. But once you gain some reputation or have something good in your hands, you must be extremely careful, because there are some people in this trade who will use every means to get their hands on your treasures. Thank you, Uncle Wang. I'll remember that. At this moment, Yang Fendu felt even more fondness for Wang Jianan. After all, in the antique business, very few people would say such things to him. Now, let's talk about Sun Gang. I know a bit about this man. He's sort of half in the antique trade. He also has some connections in the antique circle. That Wu Tian you guys are just talking about, Sun Gang usually hangs out with him quite a bit. Knowing Sun Gang, he definitely won't let today's matter slide easily. And since he wants to sell the copper coin, he'll definitely go to Wu Tian. When that happens, I'm worried he'll bring up your matter. So you need to be extra careful from now on. Got it, Uncle Wang. To be honest, I only came to the antique street because of this copper coin. Otherwise, I don't really have the capital to deal in these things. So I won't be coming around much after this. Even if they want to find me, it won't be that easy. Yang Fendu nodded and said, don't underestimate these people's abilities. They know all kinds of shady characters. As he spoke, Wang Jianan handed Yang Fendu a business card. Here's my contact info. If you ever run into trouble, feel free to call me. Or just drop my name. I've got some reputation on the antique street. Yang Fendu took the card and nodded gratefully. After leaving Wang Jianan's house, Xiangmei offered to take Yang Fendu home. But Yang Fendu declined. He still needed to go to the antique street to get his bicycle. So Xiangmei had no choice but to drive him to Ferry Bridge Antique Street. After getting out of the car, Yang Fendu thought for a moment, then bent down, poked his head into the car, and said, "Anyway, thanks for today." "Just a thank you?" Xiao Mei shot back. "What else do you want?" Yang Fendu immediately regretted saying thank you. "How about this? I've started a jewelry company. You could be my private consultant. Help me evaluate things when you have free time." Xiao Mei bit her lip. Then she suddenly said, "Sorry. First, I don't know jade. Second, I'm not interested. Besides, I don't owe you anything." Yang Fendu said no more to Xiao Mei after that. He walked toward his bicycle, unlocked it, got on, and rode off without a backward glance. Xiao Mei watched Yang Fendu leave. Stomping her feet in anger, she muttered through clenched teeth, "Just you wait, I'll make sure you owe me one." But she immediately regretted it, because she hadn't even asked for his contact information. In such a vast city, running into him again wouldn't be so easy. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, I'll find you. Soon, Xiao Mei pulled herself together. She took out her iPhone 13 and made a call. "A beauty like you calling me? Don't tell me you're treating me to dinner." A teasing voice came through the phone. "Meng Kaiyu, don't flatter yourself. I want you to help me look into someone." Xiao Mei said irritably, "No problem. But if I help you, how are you going to repay me? Let me tell you, the person I want you to find is an expert in antique appraisal." Xiao Mei hung up the phone as soon as she finished speaking. Then she hit the gas and sped off. By the time Yang Fendu bought dinner and arrived at the hospital, it was already 6:30 in the evening. When he entered the ward, his younger sister Yang Xiao had just finished her 4-drip. She was chatting with her mother. "Brother, you're here," Xiao said upon seeing Yang Fendu. She asked with a smile, "I had some things to do, so I came a bit late. I bought 2 servings of pork bone soup for you and Mom." "Eat while it's hot," he said as he spoke. Yang Fendu set the food on the cabinet by the hospital bed. "Brother, where did you get so much money? First preserved egg and lean meat porridge, now pork bone soup?" Xiao looked at Yang Fendu with a pained expression. Seeing her brother's thin body and the bruises on him, Xiao's heart ached. "Don't worry, your brother can earn money." Yang Fendu comforted her with a smile. Their mother, Yiyun, who was sitting nearby, had not said a word the whole time, but she could guess that Yang Fendu had probably sold that copper coin, and he had likely seen the Yang family heirloom. Actually, she didn't even know what the Yang family heirloom was. After her husband left, she tried to open that box, but she never succeeded. "Come on, Xiao, since your brother bought it for you. Eat it while it's hot." Yiyun felt for her daughter. She opened the lunchbox and began to feed Xiao. Yang Fendu sat to the side, watching his sister eat with a smile on his face. After eating, Xiao lay down to rest. Yiyun and Yang Fendu went to the corridor outside the ward. "You open that box?" Yiyun looked at Yang Fendu with a serious expression. "I did," Yang Fendu nodded and said. "But as for what exactly was inside, I don't know how to say it. Anyway, just trust your son. One day, you'll be proud of me. But one day, I'll find out the truth about my father." "So, you've decided to enter the antique business." "I've decided." Yang Fendu nodded seriously. "Okay, Mom believes in you. But you must remember what I told you." Yiyun looked at her son. That's right. Her son had grown up. She should let him go out and explore the world. "Mom, you should go back to the ward and rest. I sold that copper coin for 50,000. I'll go pay my sister's hospital fees. And I'm done with the construction site job. Starting tomorrow, I'll be at the antique street." "All right. After you pay, go home and rest early. Mom can take care of Xiao on her own. No problem." Yiyun nodded and said to her son. Soon, Yang Fendu paid his sister's hospital fees, but he kept 13,000 for himself. He had other plans for it. The next day, Yang Fendu got up early. After a quick wash, he brought breakfast to the hospital. Then he left the hospital and went to the phone mall. He spent 2,000 yuan on a fully featured smartphone. Then he went to the second-hand market and spent 900 yuan on a used electric bike. This made it much more convenient for him to get to the hospital. He took the SIM card from his old phone and put it into the new one. Just as he was about to head to Antique Street, his phone rang. "Hey, are you the junk collector? My family is moving, and we don't want any of the old stuff. If you want to collect it, come over now. The address is..." "I need to go to Antique Street." Of course, he also collected junk. As long as it made money, he was willing to do it. And it was this junk collecting trip that gave him a glimmer of hope. He rode his newly bought used electric bike and quickly returned to the rented courtyard. To prevent the electric bike from being stolen, he simply pushed it into his room. Only then did he ride his tricycle out of the courtyard with peace of mind. 40 minutes later, Yang Fendu had already arrived at the place mentioned on the phone. He parked his tricycle and dialed the number of the person who had called to sell scrap. The other party lived on the 5th floor. The homeowner was a woman in her 40s. She glanced at Yang Fendu with a look of disdain. Asked, "Are you the scrap collector?" "Yeah, that's me." Yang Fendu nodded. "Come. The stuff in the living room is a pile of junk. The rest are these old appliances. If the price is right, I'll sell them to you. If not, I'll find someone else. Anyway, there are scrap collection ads all over the hallway." The woman looked Yang Fendu up and down, said with a hint of threat, "Big sister, don't worry. I guarantee I'll give you a fair price. Let me take a look at the stuff first." After speaking, Yang Fendu began to examine the old appliances inside. "Big sister, how about this? The fridge, washing machine, and TV. Plus this lot of junk, I'll give you 800 in total." After scanning the room, he smiled at the woman and said, "Are you kidding me? The TV is LCD, the washing machine is a drum type, and you only offer me 800 yuan? Isn't that daylight robbery?" The woman looked displeased. Yang Fendu observed the woman. When she had spoken just now, her eyes had darted around quickly a few times. Clearly, this price was already not low. Yang Fendu didn't respond. He crouched down and began to look through the pile of junk. Suddenly, he spotted something painted with red paint in the pile. It looked very much like an inkstone. Could it be that he had come across another treasure? Yang Fendu tried his best to suppress his excitement. Without revealing anything, he activated his imperial eye. Sure enough, he saw that beneath the red paint, there really was an inkstone. Moreover, a faint ancient aura surrounded it. Seeing Yang Fendu silent, this woman said impatiently, all right, stop rummaging. I'm not going to haggle with you anymore. Take it all for 1,000 yuan." Yang Fendu didn't say anything else. He nodded and said, "Then 1,000 it is. If you have any old things to sell in the future, remember to let me know." After speaking, he pulled 1,000 yuan from his shabby bag and handed it to the woman. This money was originally meant for bargain hunting on Antique Street. "All right, hurry up and move everything out. I'm in a hurry to move house." The woman took the money, and her expression softened a bit. "Sure, let me first clean up this junk for you. Then I'll call someone to move the appliances." Yang Fendu called his neighbor Old Lu. As luck would have it, Old Lu was also collecting scrap nearby. He arrived in 10 minutes. The two of them worked together to carry the old appliances downstairs. While Old Lu wasn't paying attention, Yang Fendu quietly packed away the inkstone painted with red lacquer. "Old Lu, you go sell these things yourself. I won't go with you." After tidying up, Yang Fendu said to Old Lu. Old Lu was in his 50s. He looked honest and simple. Upon hearing Yang Fendu's words, he quickly waved his hand and said, "Why aren't you going? What if I sell at a loss? It's fine. It's not the first time we've dealt with the recycling station. They won't dare to force the price down too much. I still have to go to the hospital to see my sister. I'm off now." Yang Fendu finished speaking and rode away on his tricycle. "I'll give you the money when I come back this evening." Old Lu shouted loudly. After returning home, Yang Fendu couldn't wait to take out that inkstone. He examined it carefully. He quickly picked up half a bottle of toilet water from the windowsill and sprayed it onto the inkstone. 5 minutes later, he began scrubbing the inkstone with soapy water and a brush. Then he saw the red paint on it start to fade bit by bit. The inkstone's original color began to reveal itself. The entire inkstone was a dark brownish black. Dotting the stone were specks of green, like duckweed floating on water. Seeing this, Yang Fendu could barely contain the ecstatic grin spreading across his face, because he recognized the quality of this inkstone at a glance. Its color was a greenish blue, and it felt as warm and smooth as jade in his hand. The stone was exceptionally fine-grained. This was a classic example of Louis stone, more precisely, a type of Tao inkstone, absolutely a top-tier inkstone. Yang Fendu held the Tao inkstone in his hands, examining it with great excitement. This inkstone was remarkably well preserved. The pattern on it depicted a waterfall viewing scene. The Tao inkstone is one of the 4 famous inkstones. If this inkstone were brought to the market, it would be worth at least several 100,000 yuan. Now there's hope for my sister's surgery expenses. Yang Fendu studied it for a moment, then turned the Tao inkstone over to take a look. A few small characters suddenly appeared before his eyes. Old Man Baobing, Zhang Jidong, Governor-General of Liangguang in the late Qing dynasty. He had a lifelong hobby of collecting inkstones. But according to historical records, Old man Baobing had always been fond of collecting Duan inkstones. This was the first time he'd heard of a Tao inkstone. Rarity makes something precious. The price of this Tao inkstone would now multiply several times over. Yang Fendu was so excited he could barely contain himself. He quickly gathered his things, packed the Tao inkstone carefully, and rushed out of the house in a hurry. In less than 20 minutes on his electric scooter, Yang Fendu arrived at the Ferry Bridge Antique Market. After locking his scooter, he headed straight into the antique street. "Young man, are you looking to buy or sell something?" After wandering around the antique street for a few minutes, looking left and right, suddenly, someone across the way smiled and blocked his path. "I'm just taking a stroll." Yang Fendu frowned and said, "Don't misunderstand, young friend. I'm not a bad person. I know almost everyone on this street, whether they're shop owners or street vendors. I just help friends find business opportunities from time to time," the man said with a smile. Hearing this, Yang Fendu basically understood who he was dealing with. There were people like this in the antique trade. They didn't have any treasures themselves. They made a living by introducing buyers and sellers to each other and taking a cut of the profit. In the trade, these people were called brokers. It wasn't exactly a respectable livelihood, but their network and information were quite extensive. They did have some skills. Yang Fendu was just worrying about what to do next. With this broker here, it should save him a lot of trouble. If the deal goes through, what's the usual practice? Yang Fendu asked. Easy enough, 30% from the buyer and 20% from the seller. The other man chuckled. Yang Fendu knew exactly what that meant. Chung refers to the buyer, and Puh refers to the seller. Once a deal is struck, the buyer pays a 30% commission, and the seller pays a 20% commission to the broker. That was indeed the standard practice. Though Yang Fendu had never worked in the antique trade, he was well versed in its customs. From ancient times to the present, brokers had always followed the 30-20 rule. So, little brother, are you looking to buy or sell? If you're selling, I'll need to take a look at the item first. The man still wore a broad smile. I'm the seller. All I can tell you is that it's an inkstone. Once you find me a buyer, you'll see it naturally. If the deal goes through, you'll get your cut. Yang Fendu was deliberately cautious, choosing not to take out the inkstone. You're quite cautious, little brother. Cautious is good these days. Follow me, then. I happen to know an inkstone expert. Yang Fendu hesitated for a moment. He nodded and followed the man forward. This kid took the bait. Just then, in a shop not far away, two figures were staring intently at Yang Fendu. Soon, the middleman led Yang Fendu through a maze of turns into a small alley behind the antique street. The alley seemed about 5 meters wide. There wasn't a single pedestrian on the road. It looked especially desolate. The further Yang Fendu walked, the more uneasy he felt. A sense of unease suddenly crept into his heart. He quickly stopped and asked the middleman ahead, "Where exactly is this buyer you mentioned? Where are you taking me?" The middleman stopped and slowly turned around, looking at Yang Fendu, who appeared confused. A sinister smile suddenly curled at the corner of his mouth. "Kid, you messed up my big brother's plans. Where do you think I'm taking you?" As his words fell, suddenly, over a dozen people emerged from the alley, each one dressed like a hoodlum, clearly street thugs. In the blink of an eye, they surrounded Yang Fendu. Looking at these people, Yang Fendu had already guessed what was going on. They must be men sent by Wu Tian, the owner of Ji Quan Pavilion. "What are you talking about? I don't understand at all." Yang Fendu's expression changed. He said coldly, "Playing dumb with me here isn't wise. I heard you not only swindled my boss, but also stole someone else's copper coins," the broker said with a sneer. "Now everything is clear. These people were definitely sent by Wu Tian and Sun Gang. These two were indeed in collusion." At first, Yang Fendu was somewhat nervous in his heart, but at this moment he calmed down. "It seems you were sent by Wu Tian and Sun Gang." Yang Fendu asked coldly, "Kid, since you know, I won't waste my breath. Hand over the copper coin and the inkstone you've got on you. Maybe then you'll save yourself some physical pain. Otherwise, I swear you won't make it off this street today," the broker said with a sneer. If you got the guts, come and take them." Yang Fendu suddenly let out a cold laugh. "Damn it, do you really think you're something special? I'll teach you right now. Not everyone can make it in this antique street. Brothers, break his legs first," the broker roared through gritted teeth. The dozen or so thugs rushed at Yang Fendu like a swarm of bees. Seeing this, Yang Fendu's face turned grim. He clenched his fists and stared coldly at the thugs. As one of them threw a punch at him, Yang Fenda kicked out in one swift motion. A sharp scream. This thug was kicked 3 meters away. Although Yang Fenda looks a bit thin, after working as a laborer at the construction site, he's all muscle. And ever since he inherited the eye of control technique, he clearly felt some changes in his body. The kick he just made even startled himself, because he hadn't used his full strength at all. Could it really be because of the eye of control technique? Just as this thought flashed through his mind, he subconsciously sidestepped. A thug lunged and missed. Yang Fenda didn't dare to be distracted. He hurriedly threw 2 more punches. He could clearly hear the sound of the opponent's bones breaking. "Kid, you're pretty tough." The broker saw the scene. His face changed, and he charged at Yang Fendu. "Meng Kaiyu, hurry up and help." Just then, a man and a woman entered the alley. The woman was Shang Mei, the man Yang Fenda hadn't seen before. Meng Kaiyu charged in without a word and quickly took them down. In less than 5 minutes, all dozen or so thugs were lying on the ground screaming, "How dare you bully people right under my nose? You must be tired of living." Meng Kaiyu clapped his hands, staring angrily at the broker. When the broker saw Meng Kaiyu, cold sweat immediately broke out on his forehead. "Captain Meng, it's you. We know we were wrong. It was just a small misunderstanding. Please give us a chance to reform." Wu Lauer, you've only been out a few days and your hands are already itchy again. Meng Kaiyu obviously knew this broker. "Captain Meng, we really know we were wrong. We won't dare to do it again." Wu Lauer was so scared he was almost kowtowing. I'll give you a chance to reform today. If there's a next time, I'll just throw all of you in jail." "Scram." Meng Kaiyu snorted coldly. Wu Lauer scrambled up from the ground in fright, beckoned his lackeys, and hobbled away. "What are you doing here?" After Wu Lauer and his men left, Yang Fenda's gaze finally fell on Shang Mei. Frowning, he asked, "If Meng Kaiyu and I hadn't followed you, you'd probably be crippled by now." Shang Mei said coldly, her face expressionless. Yang Fendu couldn't be bothered to explain to this woman. Instead, he turned his gaze to Meng Kaiyu and said seriously, "Thank for earlier. No need to thank me. It was nothing. I'm Meng Kaiyu." Yang Fendu. The 2 men shook hands. Seeing this, Shang Mei felt a bit unbalanced. She said coldly to Yang Fendu, "Hey, I was the one who saved you, okay? If you're going to thank anyone, it should be me. Sorry, I'm in a hurry. I'll be off now." Yang Fendu didn't want to argue with them. He just wanted to leave quickly and sell the inkstone in his hand to raise enough money for his sister's surgery as soon as possible. "Yang Fendu, you're going too far. Do you really think I'm invisible? Let me tell you, the reason I called you here today is to introduce you to Meng Kaiyu. He really loves antiques. Aren't you eager to make money? When you have time, you can appraise items for him. Money is not an issue." Shang Mei looked at his receding figure. She stomped her foot and shouted. Beside her, Meng Kaiyu looked helpless. When did he ever say he wanted someone to appraise things? Yang Fendu paused in his steps and slowly turned around. His gaze fell on Shang Mei and Meng Kaiyu. Shang Mei thought Yang Fendu was interested, just as she was secretly pleased. Yang Fendu walked up to Meng Kaiyu. "Brother Meng, do you know any shops or individuals that buy inkstones?" Yang Fendu asked, "Inkstone." Meng Kaiyu's face immediately lit up. "Why look elsewhere? As long as the item is genuine, he would buy it directly." However, Shang Mei was extremely angry at this moment. Yang Fendu was truly treating her like air. On the other side, in the back room of Ji Quan Ji's shop, Wu Lao Air, with a bruised and swollen face, was reporting to Wu Tian. "What can I say about you? You can't even handle such a small matter." Wu Tian slammed his fist on the table. Who knew Meng Kaiyu would suddenly show up? Wu Lao Air looked aggrieved. "Boss Wu, please don't be angry first. I've already found out everything about this kid. He also has a sister who is currently staying at Shihe City Hospital." As Sun Gang spoke, a sinister smile appeared on his face. As for Yang Fendu's side, Meng Kaiyu had been looking for a nice inkstone for his father recently. He didn't expect Yang Fendu to actually have one. "Brother Yang, this isn't a good place to examine the goods. Let's find a quieter spot to take a look at your inkstone. If it's suitable, I'll take it off your hands without needing to find anyone else. Don't worry, I won't shortchange you on the price." Seeing how excited Meng Kaiyu was, and since he was brought by Shang Mei, Yang Fendu naturally let his guard down a bit. He nodded and said, "All right, let's find a place to check out the item then." Just as the 3 were about to leave, the phone suddenly rang. Yang Fendu took out his phone and saw it was the nurse in charge of his sister. He answered it quickly. "Nurse phone, is something wrong with my sister?" Yang Fendu asked anxiously as soon as the call connected. "Yang Fendu, you need to come to the hospital right away. Our director said your sister's hospitalization fees have run out. Our director said that your sister's hospitalization fees have run out. Now, they want to discharge her. And they even called the security guards. Your mother argued with them, but ended up getting slapped by the director." "What?" Yang Fendu's face instantly turned extremely grim. Besides hearing Nurse Feng's voice on the phone, he also heard the noise and his mother's pleading voice. "Bro Meng, take me to Shiha City Hospital." Meng Kaiyu and Shang Mei could clearly feel the chill radiating from Yang Fendu at that moment. For a split second, Meng Kaiyu and Shang Mei were actually stunned by Yang Fendu's imposing aura. "Bro Meng, please take me to the hospital." Seeing that the two weren't moving, Yang Fendu thought they were unwilling. In his urgency, his emotions became a bit agitated. Okay, Meng Kaiyu snapped out of it and immediately nodded at Yang Fendu. Then the three of them ran towards the car. Seeing Yang Fendu's anxiety and tension at this moment, Meng Kaiyu started the car and sped off towards Shiha City Hospital with a stomp on the accelerator. Shang Mei, sitting in the back seat, also had a look of tension and confusion on her pretty face. From Yang Fendu's behavior just now, she could tell how much Yang Fendu cared about his mother. This filial piety was truly commendable. To save time, Meng Kaiyu drove very fast, even risking running a red light. He covered a 30-minute drive in just 15 minutes. Yang Fendu jumped out of the car and ran straight towards the inpatient department. The hospital corridor was crowded with people. "Director Chung, my son just paid 40,000 yuan in hospitalization fees this morning. How could we be in arrears?" As soon as Yang Fendu went upstairs, he heard his mother's tearful voice. The cashier's office has no record of your payment." He saw a thin, somewhat sleazy-looking middle-aged man, shouting angrily at Yi Yun. This man was Chung Wei, the director of nephrology at the hospital. Ever since Yang Fendu's sister was admitted to the hospital, this man had been finding fault with them. Yang Fendu knew all this was because he hadn't given him a bribe. "Impossible. When my son comes, I'll let him show you the receipt," Yi Yun said, her voice choked with tears. The hospital itself has tight bed availability. Who has time to wait for you? You must be discharged immediately. Free up the bed for patients who need it. A doctor should have a parent's heart. Is this how you practice medicine?" Ye Yun retorted, while tightly hugging Yang Xiao, who was shivering. "A woman may be weak, but a mother is strong. Doctors are human too, and the hospital is not a charity institution. If you can afford it, stay. If you can't, then leave the hospital. If you have no money, why seek medical treatment? It's just a waste of hospital resources." Chung Wei roared coldly, his face grim. More and more onlookers gathered. Many people were whispering among themselves. Most were criticizing Chung Wei for having no medical ethics as a doctor. Hearing these murmurs, Chung Wei's face turned cold. He pointed at the patients and their families and shouted again, "Did I say something wrong? Poor people, why do you even seek medical treatment? Can you afford it?" Just then, a dark figure suddenly pushed through the crowd. Without a word, he rushed up to Chung Wei. Before the other could react, he suddenly threw a punch at Chung Wei's chest. Bang! Thud! Chung Wei was instantly sent flying 3 meters away. He knelt on the ground, clutching his chest in pain. The one who struck was none other than Yang Fendu. "Chung Wei, do you deserve to be a doctor? Do you deserve to be a human being?" Yang Fendu clenched his fists. His sharp eyes were filled with rage. He stared coldly at Chung Wei. "Yang Fendu, how dare you cause trouble in the hospital?" Tired of living, Chung Wei took a long time to recover from Yang Fendu's punch. He immediately shouted at the security guards, "Arrest these troublemakers for me." The 3 security guards lunged at Yang Fendu in unison. At that moment, Yang Fendu was burning with rage. As soon as the 3 guards got close, he swung his fists left and right, landing 3 punches. All 3 security guards collapsed to the ground, wailing in pain. Seeing this, a hint of nervousness suddenly appeared on Chung Wei's angry face. His impression of Yang Fendu had always been that of scrawny, frail, and weak poor kid. But why was his explosive power so terrifying now? "If any of you dare take another step forward, I swear I'll knock your teeth out." Yang hao barkid angrili, a chilling aura radiating from him. The three security guards were terrified, panic written all over their faces. This is the receipt I paid today. Check if it was issued by your hospital. As he spoke, Yang Fendu flung a receipt into Cheng Wei's face. Who knows if you forged this? You country bumpkins and poor people have no other skills. But you're quite good at swindling, playing pitiful, and winning sympathy. Cheng Wei still hasn't realized the seriousness of the problem. Because he was skilled in medicine and had studied abroad, the hospital gave him special treatment. This also revealed his arrogant and domineering nature. But usually, he at most accepted some red envelopes. The reason he dared to do this today was entirely because of his brother-in-law, Sun Gang. Sun Gang hated Yang Fendu so much that his teeth itched. So he came up with this despicable idea. He promised Cheng Wei 2 rare copper coins, asking him to drive Yang Fendu's sister out of the hospital. Money makes the world go round. Plus, Cheng Wei usually liked collecting antiques, so he readily agreed. But now he realized the outwardly shabby and cowardly Yang Fendu turned out to be so ruthless. One punch nearly crippled him. True or false? Come with me to the billing office right now and check. Yang Fendu suppressed his anger and said, watching the crowd of onlookers grow larger and larger. Cheng Wei's heart began to tense up a bit. Carrying on like this wouldn't do him any good. His eyes darted around. Then he said to Yang Fendu, I'm very busy. I don't have time to waste on this boring matter with you. Let's just say the billing office made a mistake. Let your sister continue to stay in hospital. As he spoke, Cheng Wei scrambled up from the ground, eager to flee this place of trouble. Cheng Wei, you kicked my sister out of the ward, slapped my mother, and you think you can just brush it off and walk away? Cheng Wei had just taken a step. Yang Fendu rushed forward like an arrow and blocked his path. Looking at Yang Fendu's cold and grim expression, Cheng Wei's heart tightened with nervousness. However, he still put on a disdainful look. Yang Fendu, I have my reasons for being suspicious. Don't be ungrateful. I've already given you plenty of face by doing this. What more do you want from me? Yang Fendu's face turned icy. He gritted his teeth and said, I want you to kneel and apologize to my mother and sister. Hearing this, the surrounding crowd began murmuring again. Some were worried for Yang Fendu. After all, this was Cheng Wei's turf. If things escalated, Yang Fendu would definitely suffer the consequences. Some others felt Yang Fendu was right. This was what a real man should stand up for. Shang Mei, who had been watching from behind the crowd, frowned slightly. A hint of concern showed on her face. But beside her, Meng Kaiyu remained completely calm, as if it had nothing to do with him. Meng Kaiyu, this is no time for hesitation. Why don't you quickly reveal your identity and step in to stop this? Do you really want this to blow up? Anxious, Shang Mei shot Meng Kaiyu a glare. Heh, to be honest, I really didn't see that coming. This guy Yang Fendu actually has some guts. I'm quite curious to see what he'll do next. Meng Kaiyu chuckled lightly. He watched Yang Fendu and Cheng Wei with great interest. Someone who loves watching the drama unfold openly. Shang Mei said in annoyance. She quickly pulled out her phone and dialed. Yang Fendu, are you still dreaming, not fully awake? You should be grateful that I'm not kicking your sister out of the hospital. If you keep making a scene like this, I won't be nice to you anymore. As Cheng Wei finished speaking, seeing that Yang Fendu didn't say a word, a smug smile immediately flashed across his face. He thought Yang Fendu was intimidated by him. But how could he know? Everyone has their limits. His mother and sister were Yang Fendu's limit. Not to mention that he had now inherited the family's supreme treasure. Even if he were still the ordinary person he used to be, if anyone dared to bully his mother and sister, he would protect them even at the cost of his life. So you refuse to apologize? Just as Cheng Wei was gloating, Yang Fendu suddenly took another step closer to him, looking at Yang Fendu's grim face. Cheng Wei felt the air around him become oppressive. A thin layer of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. What do you want? Slap. Before Cheng Wei could finish his words, Yang Fendu had already slapped him across the face, making him see stars. This slap is for my sister, Yang Fendu said through clenched teeth. Yang Fendu, you slap. Yang Fendu didn't want to hear any more of his nonsense, so he followed up with another slap to the face. Cheng Wei only felt dizzy and disoriented. His body stumbled twice involuntarily. This slap was for my mother. How dare you hit slap? Before Cheng Wei could get the word old out of his mouth, Yang Fendu swung his hand and delivered another slap. This time, Cheng Wei was completely stunned. He felt the world spin, everything blurring into double vision. This slap was for me. After Yang Fendu had slapped Cheng Wei 3 times, Cheng Wei was thoroughly dazed. His body wobbled, as if it might collapse at any moment. Just as Yang Fendu raised his hand to continue dealing with the other man, Yi Yin had already rushed over. She grabbed Yang Fendu's arm tightly. "Fendu, you can't hit him anymore. If you keep this up, something bad will happen." Held back by his mother, Yang Fendu turned his head to look at her. He said, speaking each word deliberately, "Mom, I can tolerate him bullying and scolding me. But if he bullies you and my sister, I won't allow it. You understand, Mom?" Mom knew. Yi Yun's eyes were full of tears. Looking at her son, she felt both touched and worried. But hitting someone is not the way to solve things. "Listen to me, stop fighting." Hearing his mother's persuasion, Yang Fendu's emotions began to gradually calm down. But when he saw the finger marks on his mother's cheek, the rage in his chest flared up again. He lifted his foot and kicked Cheng Wei right in the lower abdomen. Thud! Caught off guard, Cheng Wei felt a sharp pain in his stomach and was kicked directly to his knees in front of Yang Fendu and his mother. Then he couldn't hold back and spat out a mouthful of blood, which clearly contained 2 back molars. "Stop!" Just as everyone was stunned, suddenly a cold voice rang out. A dozen or so people in white coats quickly walked toward the crowd. The leading man had a ruddy complexion and graying hair. He appeared to be in his 50s. It was Lu Ming, the hospital's director. If Lu Ming, who was in a meeting at the admin building, hadn't received Xiang Mei's call, he wouldn't have known such a big incident was happening at the inpatient department. After hanging up, he quickly brought people over. The onlookers saw the director had arrived and hastily made a path. Lu Ming saw Cheng Wei kneeling there, beaten like a pig's head and in a sorry state, and his face instantly darkened. After all, Cheng Wei was someone he had poached with a high salary, and now he had been beaten beyond recognition. If this got out, not only would it affect the hospital's reputation, but where would his face as director be placed? "Boo-hoo! Director, I was beaten by a patient's family member. You must seek justice for me. Arrest him now." Seeing Lu Ming arrive, Cheng Wei suddenly became arrogant again. His bloody mouth mumbled indistinctly, the guilty party filing a false accusation first. Lu Ming coldly glanced at the people around. Finally, his gaze fell on Yang Fendu. "You assaulted hospital staff openly in the hospital. This is absolutely outrageous. This is a typical medical disturbance, and you'll bear legal responsibility." Hearing this, Yang Fendu felt a surge of displeasure. Just as he was about to explain, Xiang Mei and Meng Kaiyu had already come to Yang Fendu's side. "Uncle Lu, hitting someone is wrong, but you shouldn't just listen to one side of the story. Why don't you ask everyone? Why did my friend hit him?" Xiang Mei looked at Lu Ming and said with a smile, "Xiao Mei, what exactly is going on? He's your friend?" After Lu Ming saw Xiang Mei, a hint of confusion appeared on his face. "Not to mention that Yang Fendu is my friend. Even if he were a stranger's family member, I would still speak up for him. That doctor deserved to be hit. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance footage to see what led up to it." Xiang Mei said earnestly, "I have a video here. I recorded it all just now." Just then, a patient's family member from the crowd suddenly approached Lu Ming with their phone. Lu Ming frowned. He eventually took the phone and watched the footage. After seeing what Cheng Wei had done, his face alternated between pale and red. "Cheng Wei, you're an absolute beast. As a doctor, where's your medical ethics? A black sheep. You've ruined the reputation of our hospital." After Lu Ming returned the phone, his face flushed with anger as he yelled at Cheng Wei. I was wrong, director. I'm sorry." Cheng Wei had originally thought Lu Ming was his savior. He never expected this outcome. Fire him on the spot. "Get out of this hospital right now." Lu Ming gave a cold shout. The security guards who had been beaten by Yang Fendu earlier went up, grabbed Cheng Wei by the arms, and dragged him out. After Cheng Wei was dragged away, Lu Ming lowered his head in thought for a moment, then turned his gaze back to Yang Fendu. "I'm sorry. What happened today is entirely our hospital's fault. As the director, I have an unshirkable responsibility as well. So, to express our apologies, we will reduce or waive your sister's subsequent hospitalization fees. Moreover, I will immediately contact relevant specialists for a consultation. to choose the best treatment plan for your sister. Good. Wise decision, director. At this moment, the surrounding crowd burst into enthusiastic applause and cheers. Lu Ming only then breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, he did this on one hand to salvage the hospitals and his own reputation, and on the other hand, because Xiang Mei had said Yang Fendu was her friend. He and Xiang Mei's father were old friends with a long-standing relationship. If this isn't handled properly, he would really be in a difficult position. No need. I'm only targeting Cheng Wei. It's not the hospital doctors should have a benevolent heart. I just hope that we ordinary people won't feel disheartened while spending money on medical treatment. As Yang Fendu finished speaking, Lu Ming's face instantly showed a hint of embarrassment. Yang Fendu said nothing more. He turned around and went to his sister's side. Kneeling down, he picked up his sister and walked into the ward. Everyone, rest assured, our hospital will deal with this matter seriously and give everyone a satisfactory explanation. For now, everyone please disperse. Brother, I'm sorry. It's all my fault that I've implicated you and Mom. Maybe we should just leave the hospital. My illness can't be cured. Young Xiao looked at Young Fendu, with tears in her eyes, said aggrievedly. Yi Yan looked at her daughter, whose maturity was heartbreaking. Couldn't help but shed tears. Young Fendu gently touched Young Xiao's forehead, smiled and said, "Silly girl, don't worry about anything. Your brother will take care of everything. Let's stay here for now. If it still doesn't work, I'll take you to a hospital in the big city."